He was once broke, struggling to survive, and the woman he loved treated him as if he were nothing, cheating on him, starving him, and finally throwing him out to marry a wealthy man. But destiny had other plans. Years later, he rose to become a highly successful tech engineer and crypto developer worth millions. Then one ordinary day he saw her again. His ex, the same woman who once humiliated him, was now dirty, broke, homeless, and begging by the roadside with twins. What happened next will leave you stunned. So sit back, relax, and grab your popcorn as we dive into this powerful story. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and give this video a thumbs up so you never miss any of our unforgettable, life-changing stories. Femi had not always been wealthy. He wasn't born into privilege. He came from a very poor family, where every naira mattered and every dream survived only on hope. His father, Mr. Adebanjo, was a retired primary school teacher, whose pension could barely feed the family for 2 days. His mother, Mama Femi, sold vegetables at the local market, tomatoes, peppers, and onions, arranged in neat piles on a shaky wooden table that rattled when the wind blew. They lived in a small 2-room apartment in a noisy part of Lagos. The roof leaked whenever it rained, and during Harmattan the cold swept in through cracked windows. Femi slept on a thin mattress on the floor, often waking up stiff and sore, yet he never complained. He knew his parents were doing their best. From a young age, Femi understood that life was a battlefield. He learned to manage hunger, stretch the little they had, and find joy in small victories, like when his father brought home suya on payday, or when the landlord didn't come knocking for rent. His big break came when he gained admission to the University of Lagos to study computer science. For his family, it was a moment of pride, but also a heavy financial burden. His parents sold some belongings to cover his first-year fees, and Mama Femi doubled her hours at the market just to send him money for food. While many of his classmates wore the latest designer clothes and partied every weekend, Femi wore the same pair of jeans for years, washing them so often that the color faded. Fashion didn't matter to him. His focus was on graduating with top honors and securing a good job. He spent countless nights in the campus computer lab, learning programming languages, web development, and cybersecurity, studying far beyond the syllabus. Often, he was the last to leave, locking the door behind him as the security guard waited impatiently. Still, there were days when he went without food, drinking Gary with cold water to silence his hunger. He carried these struggles quietly, never wanting his parents to feel guilty. When graduation finally came, Femi walked out of the hall with his degree in one hand and dreams in the other. He imagined a job in a big tech company, a good salary, and maybe even a car within the first year. But reality had other plans. Months passed and no job came. He printed countless CVs visiting companies across Lagos, but the answers were always the same. "We'll get back to you." They never did. His small savings quickly disappeared, and he started borrowing money from friends just to survive. At one point, he even considered working as a cyber cafe attendant. Finally, after 6 long months, he got a job, not at a top tech firm, but at a struggling small company that repaired computers and provided basic IT support for local businesses. They called him their IT engineer, but the pay was barely enough to cover rent in his cramped, dimly lit apartment and afford simple meals. Still, Femi told himself it was a start. Every morning he wore his neatly ironed shirt and cheap tie, determined to give his best. And it was during these tough days that his path crossed with Nana, a meeting that would shape his life in ways he could never have predicted. In the months after graduation, Nana drifted into Femi's 1-room apartment like a soft breeze slipping under a door, quiet at first, then everywhere. She never officially moved in, but her things did: a small suitcase, a box of wigs, and a bottle of expensive body spray he couldn't pronounce. On good days, she laughed at his dry jokes and called him my genius, tapping his forehead. On bad days, she scanned the room, frowned at the peeling paint, and sighed like someone who believed she deserved better. Femi's job barely paid enough to keep the landlord polite. He woke before dawn, ironed his 2 shirts, and trekked to the bus stop with his laptop bag. He was the kind of man who made struggle look neat. Nana, meanwhile, was between things, as she called it. "I'm weighing options," she would say, scrolling on her phone, applying lip gloss in the tiny mirror while sitting on his foam mattress. "I can't just take any job. I went to school. At first she cooked. Jollof that lasted 2 days. Okra soup that made life feel softer. She waited by the window for him to return, rushing to the door when she heard his key. They would eat together, knees touching, dreaming of a future flat in Surulere with a balcony and curtains that swayed like music. One day, Femi would whisper. One day, she would smile back. But one day didn't pay for wigs. One day didn't replace her cracked iPhone. One day couldn't book an Uber to see her friends in Lekki. Slowly, her warmth began to fade. Do you know Toby? She asked one evening, scattering ground nuts in her lap. He was your course mate, right? He just started at a bank. They gave him an apartment in Ikoyi. He has a car, a Corolla. Femi nodded quietly, stirring his Gary. Good for him. My time will come. Your time needs to hurry, she replied, half joking, half serious. I can't keep eating dreams. The comparisons grew. There was always a Toby, always another man with a car, with a job that came with an office elevator, and a receptionist who smiled with all her teeth. Femi carried it with quiet patience, the way a man carries a cracked bucket, carefully so nothing spills. The first real fracture came on a Thursday. The company's generator broke down, and the boss sent everyone home. Femi took a Danfo part way, then walked the rest, stepping around puddles left by the stubborn afternoon rain. He had planned a small surprise, suya from a roadside stand with an extra portion of pepper wrapped in paper like a secret. He pictured Nana's joy, the way she used to say, my baby, when he does something thoughtful. The door wasn't locked. He heard a laugh first, a deep male laugh too at ease in a space that wasn't his. Then Nana's voice followed, soft and playful in a tone she hadn't used with him in a long time. Femi stood there, suya grease soaking into the paper in his hand while his heart pounded in his ears. He pushed the door open. A man in a crisp polo, watch gleaming, perfume strong, sat on the edge of Femi's bed. Nana's wig was off, her hair tied in a scarf she only wore when she felt at home. The man turned, irritation flashing before it melted into a grin, like he'd save this story to tell later with dramatic hand gestures. Oh, the man said. You didn't say your brother was coming? Leave, Femi said, his voice firm, surprising even himself. He wasn't violent, but some words carry weight on their own. The man smirked. Guy, relax. We were just talking. Out, Femi repeated. Now. The man adjusted his belt, winked at Nana, and strolled out, brushing Femi's shoulder in a deliberate challenge. Femi didn't move. The man's scent lingered in the room like an insult. When the door finally shut, silence sharpened. Nana spoke first. It's not what you think. What do I think? She looked at the floor, then at him, then away. Her voice shrank. I needed money. He was helping me. Femi set the suya on the table, his hands too careful for the moment. Helping you how? Data, small things. You know I haven't been working. So you bring him here? Where else do you expect me to meet him? She threw her hands up, then softened. Baby, I'm sorry, please, nothing happened, I swear. Femi wanted to believe her, wanted to erase the angle of the man's shoes by the bed, the way her scarf sat crooked like hurried hands had pulled at it. He wanted to rewrite the last 5 minutes into something he could keep his dignity in. His mouth opened, closed, then opened again. Why didn't you tell me you needed anything? I would have found a way. That's the problem, she said, tears arriving as if rehearsed. You always say you'll find a way, but it never comes. I needed to fix my phone to look decent for interviews. Sometimes you can't even give me transport. He leaned back against the wall, sliding down until he sat on the cold floor. So this is my punishment for being poor? Nana dropped to her knees, tears bright. No, don't say that. You know I love you. She held his hands tightly. I made a mistake. It won't happen again. I swear on my mother's life. Her promises filled the room like smoke. He wept quietly, stubbornly ashamed, and in the end, because his heart had learned patience long before it had learned pride, he nodded. Okay, he said. I forgive you. She exhaled, shaking, then collapsed against his shoulder. Thank you. I won't forget this. You're a good man. For 2 weeks, peace returned like a shy guest. Nana was attentive again, cooking, lighting candles, wearing his favorite wrapper. She called him my genius and told friends loudly on the phone that her man was software royalty in the making. Femi walked longer routes home, avoiding shortcuts that led to disappointment. He focused on work, stayed late learning new frameworks, and told himself a promotion would fix their broken days. But comparison crept back in. It began with small cuts. You ironed this shirt? It still looks rough. Or, see how Emmanuel sends his girlfriend money every Friday. Do you even care about me? Or when she pushed her plate away saying, I can't eat beans again. I'm tired. She started dressing up more often to see a friend, perfume and gloss marking her exits. She turned her phone face down when messages came. When he asked gently, she heard accusations. So now you're policing me because you paid last month's rent? I beg, don't stress me. Femi didn't yell. He never knew the language of rage. He spoke softly, hoping kindness could blunt the edge of her words. He bought little gifts within his small budget, hairpins, cheap earrings, airtime cards, but they shrank in comparison to her talk of a friend's iPhone or a weekend at a resort. We'll get there, he'd say. Together. She smiled, but only with her lips. The second time, he didn't catch her with anyone in the room. Instead, he caught the scent on their pillow. Expensive, male, wrong. He found a second toothbrush in the bathroom, blue, its bristles still remembering someone else's teeth. When he asked, she laughed. You're overthinking. My cousin's boyfriend stopped by. He left it. The lie was bare, unpolished. He let it slide and hated himself later in the silence. Femi began to pray longer. The prayers were never fancy. God, give me work. Give me wisdom. Grant me favor. Give me a kind heart that isn't naive. He would even apologize to his stomach when skipping dinner to save money, and to his heart when it kept holding on to hope while his body grew weary. One evening, he came home carrying groceries he had bargained for with determination. Rice, tinned tomatoes, a small pack of chicken. Nana stood before the mirror, adjusting a blonde wig, her dress fitting closely, gold earrings swinging as she turned. She looked stunning, almost painfully so. Where are you going? He asked, trying to sound casual. Out, she replied, tapping her phone. A friend's hangout in Lecky. Which friend? She rolled her eyes. Do you have to know everyone? You don't know him. Him? He asked quietly. She turned sharply. Faye, don't start. You know I don't like stress. He swallowed, nodded, and set the groceries down. At least call me when you get there. She pecked his cheek lightly like one tips a waiter, then left. The door shut gently, but the silence felt heavy. He cooked for two, ate alone, and left the second plate covered for hours just in case. Near midnight she returned, her laughter echoing down the corridor like the last note of a fading song. Half asleep, he asked, How was it? Fine, she replied, removing her wig and tossing it onto a chair before heading to the bathroom. You're still awake? Don't you have work tomorrow? He noticed the blue toothbrush was gone. The next morning, he wrote in his notebook, Pray, learn Docker. Submit CVs to 3 places. Love Nana better. Be firm. Save in 1,000 today. Don't cry. The list was like a handrail guiding him up a staircase he couldn't yet see. There were good days. She laughed at one of his borrowed jokes, hugged him from behind while he washed plates, whispering, My prophet. One day you'll surprise them all. They took evening walks past roadside stalls holding hands, promising a shared home with 2 balconies and a gas cooker that worked the first time. He carried those moments like treasures, but there were bad days too. Her complaints cut deep. If you loved me, you wouldn't let me lack. How do I face friends when their men provide more? You're too comfortable with small. She blocked him on WhatsApp for hours after he questioned where she was, then unblocked him with a casual good night, dear, as if erasing a message erased the hurt. He forgave, not knowing what else to do. He came from a home where his father kissed his mother's hands after the market, where apologies lived in ordinary days. He believed in love's endurance the way others believe in luck. Then one hazy Saturday, as the neighborhood tailor's machine hummed, Nana sat on the mattress, her face serious. Femi, let's talk. His stomach dropped. I'm tired, she said. This struggle, this life. I need more. I deserve more. You deserve everything good, he replied, his throat tight. Let me try a little longer, please. She looked at his hard-working, gentle yet poor hands, then looked away. After a pause, she said softly, Okay, but things must change. He promised they would, though he didn't know how. That night, he made another list. Raise money for Nana's phone. Ask boss for more shifts. Update portfolio. Don't lose yourself. 2 weeks later, he picked up extra work repairing school computers. Hiding his exhaustion, he surprised Nana with a second-hand phone he had refurbished until it shone like new. She squealed, hugged him, and posted a boomerang with the caption, "My man," followed by 3 hearts. For a brief moment, he felt like a king wearing a fragile crown that somehow held. Then came the mall. The ring he could hardly afford, the uninvited crowd, and the answer that would divide one chapter of his life from the next. But before that moment of humiliation, there was this truth. Nana had already crossed lines more than once, and he had chosen forgiveness, folding his pain neatly like a shirt placed on a shelf, trusting that love would make space for it. That night, he went to bed with the future waiting quietly in the next room. The Saturday sun poured through faded curtains, lighting up the single wooden chair, the shaky wardrobe, and the neatly folded clothes on his bed. He had been awake since dawn, staring at the small velvet box in his hand. Inside was a modest silver ring with a single cubic zirconia stone that caught the light in soft glimmers. To others it might mean little, but to him it meant everything. The result of 3 months of disciplined saving. He had worked extra shifts, skipped meals, even sold his old laptop, all for this day. He imagined Nana's eyes widening, her gasp, her joyful yes. Despite the mistakes and the pain, he believed she was worth it. Perhaps this would be the turning point. Femi dressed carefully in his cleanest white shirt, faintly scented with lavender soap from his mother. His jeans were faded but ironed, his black shoes polished with cheap effort. At the entrance of one of Lagos's busiest malls, he met Nana. She was radiant in a fitted red dress and heels that clicked confidently across the tiled floor. Her hair was sleek, makeup flawless, drawing every eye. "Wow," he said softly. "You look beautiful," she smiled. "You look good too." They walked hand in hand past glittering shops filled with perfumes, clothes, and jewelry. His heart raced as he touched the ring box in his pocket, making sure it was still there. At the food court, he led her to a table at the center. A few curious eyes followed. Nana frowned. "Why here?" "Let's just eat." Femi took a deep breath, knelt down, and brought out the small box. Conversations slowed. Phones lifted. "Nana," he began, voice trembling. "From the day I met you, you've made me believe in love. I know I don't have much now, but I promise to work hard every day to give you the life you deserve. Will you marry me?" Gasps echoed through the food court. Some strangers smiled, while others pulled out phones to record for Instagram and TikTok, but Nana's face turned cold. "Faye, stand up," she said sharply. Confused, he looked at her. "What? This is the right moment. Just say yes," her voice rose. "I can't marry you, Faye. You're a good man, but I can't settle for less. I need someone financially secure. I suffered in my father's house, and I won't suffer again in marriage." "I'm sorry." The crowd's smiles faded into uneasy stares. Some exchanged pity, and one whispered, "Chai see heartbreak." Femi remained on one knee for a few seconds too long, the rejection echoing in his ears. Finally he stood, closed the ring box, and forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. 2 days later, Nana came to his apartment. Her tone was calm, almost rehearsed. Sitting on the edge of his bed, she said, "I do love you, Femi, but love is not enough. Promises can't build a future. I'm seeing someone else and we're getting married soon." Femi's chest tightened. "So that's why you said no?" She nodded, avoiding his eyes. "I'm from a poor home. I won't marry into another poor home. I deserve a man who is already well off. I can't suffer twice." Her words cut deeper than any betrayal. They didn't even argue. There was nothing left to fight for. Adjusting her handbag, she said softly, "I wish you the best." And then she left. That was the last time Faye saw Nana, until fate decided to remind him years later. The days after her final visit blurred together. Femi moved through them like a man underwater. His small apartment felt suffocating. Curtains stayed shut. Daylight felt insulting. The clock on the wall ticked loudly, reminding him that time was passing while he remained stuck. At work, colleagues noticed the change. The once focused Faye became withdrawn. He no longer stayed late to study coding or help with IT issues. Instead, he sat at his desk staring at the screen, hands idle. When asked if he was okay, he forced a smile. "I'm fine." But he wasn't. The loneliness was crushing. Losing Nana hurt, but the public rejection was worse. The video had gone viral, him kneeling while she refused. Online captions read, "This is why you don't propose broke. Love is sweet when money comes in." The comment stung. She's right. Love doesn't pay bills. Work on your account before you kneel for a woman. Femi stopped checking his phone, deleted his WhatsApp picture, and avoided friends. Food lost its taste. Days went by without proper meals. Even his mother's calls became hard to answer. "Faye, are you okay?" she asked in Yoruba, her voice warm and worried. "I'm fine, Mama, just busy with work," he lied. One Thursday evening, the loneliness became unbearable. He walked home in the rain to save transport money. Clothes soaked and heavy, he dropped his bag and sat in silence. The steady rain outside blurred into his thoughts. What's the point? His career was stagnant. His love life ended in humiliation, and his heart ached as if permanently broken. By 9 p.m., he stood on 3rd Mainland Bridge. The city lights shimmered, the water below restless and black. Cars sped past, unaware of the man on the edge. He thought of his parents, how disappointed they'd be, or maybe relieved. He thought of Nana's words, "I can't suffer twice." He thought of the pitying faces in the mall. One step forward and it would all end. "Brother," a voice called. Femi turned. A middle-aged taxi driver in a faded green shirt held an umbrella, rain tapping softly on it. "You okay?" the man asked with concern. Femi forced a weak smile. "I'm fine." The man shook his head, stepping closer. "No, you're not. I've seen this look before. Young man, your story isn't over. Don't let someone's choice push you to end your life." Femi's throat tightened. No one had ever said that to him. The man continued, "There's more ahead than you see now. You think this is the end, but it's just a bend in the road. Go home, eat, rest. Tomorrow start again." The words sank deep, clearing the fog in his mind. Slowly, Femi stepped back from the edge, exhaling a shaky breath. "Thank you," he whispered. The man smiled faintly. "When you succeed, remember this night. And remember, God still has your name written." That night, Faye walked home under the rain. His clothes were drenched, but his steps felt lighter. The darkness remained, but now a fragile thread of hope pulled him forward. By dawn, the driver's words still echoed. "Your story isn't over. This is just a bend in the road." Femi sat up, feeling a faint spark of resolve. He made a thin cup of tea, sat at his small table, and opened his old laptop. The screen was cracked, the keys worn, but it worked. That same afternoon, while fixing an office printer at his low-paying IT job, he began updating his CV. Just then, his phone buzzed. The name on the screen made him pause. Tunde, a university mate. They hadn't spoken in almost a year. Femi picked up, trying to sound cheerful. "Tunde, long time, man." Tunde's voice was warm and full of energy. "I've been trying to reach you. Where have you been hiding?" Just working and surviving." Tunde chuckled. "Listen, my company is expanding. We need a reliable IT professional who can manage both infrastructure and cybersecurity. You were the first person I thought of. It's a senior position and the pay is solid." Femi nearly dropped the printer cable in his hand. "Are you serious?" "As serious as Lagos traffic. Send me your CV today." "The interview is next week, but I'll personally recommend you to HR." When the call ended, Femi sat frozen for a moment, staring at his reflection in the dark computer screen. With a rush of adrenaline, he quickly emailed his CV. A week later, he stood outside the sleek glass building of Skyline Tech Solutions, adjusting the collar of a borrowed blazer. His heart pounded. This was nothing like the small, dusty offices he had known. Everything here, polished marble floors, chrome elevator doors, spoke of wealth. Inside, the interview panel of 3 waited. A sharp-eyed woman in a navy suit, a bearded man with an expensive watch, and a younger guy typing non-stop on a laptop. They questioned him on technical architecture, cybersecurity threats, and server maintenance. Femi's hands were slightly damp, but his mind was steady. He answered clearly, drawing from long nights in the university lab and his self-taught coding sessions. When asked about problem-solving, he shared a story of building a patch from scratch that saved his previous company's client data. The bearded man leaned back with a faint smile. By the time he left, Femi felt calm. He hadn't been flawless, but he had shown his value. 3 days later, the call came. "Mr. Adanjo, this is HR from Skyline Tech. We're pleased to offer you the role of IT manager. Your salary will start at N$750,000 per month, plus benefits. Can you begin next Monday?" For a moment, Femi couldn't speak. His throat tightened. Yes, I can." When the call ended, he sat on his bed in silence. Slowly, a smile spread across his face. This was it, the turning point, the life he had always dreamed of. From struggle to stability, his first months at Skyline were intense. Femi worked late, learning systems and streamlining processes. His commitment stood out. Within 6 months, he was leading a team. Within a year, his salary had doubled. With his rising income, he left his cramped one-room apartment for a modest 2-bedroom flat. He bought a Toyota Camry and sent money home to support his parents. But Femi didn't stop there. He began studying investments. Weekends went into real estate seminars and property research. By his second year, he had purchased his first plot of land in Lekki, sold it 6 months later at a profit, and reinvested. Soon came more plots, apartments, and short-let properties. By his third year, Femi's life had completely changed. He now lived in a mansion in Lekki Phase 1, a 2-story house with marble floors, glass balconies, and a private pool. He owned 3 cars, a sleek Mercedes-Benz, a white Range Rover, and a sports coupe. His wardrobe held tailored suits and imported shoes. Yet despite his success, he remained disciplined. He remembered the days of counting coins for bread, and though he mingled with CEOs and investors, his circle stayed small, but fate had other plans. 3 years after Nana had left him, they crossed paths again, not in a mall or a one-room flat, but on a dusty roadside where fortune had reversed completely. It was a hot Saturday in Lagos. Femi had just finished lunch at a Victoria Island fast food spot. Dressed casually in a white polo, dark jeans, and sunglasses, he radiated quiet wealth. Outside, his black Mercedes-Benz GLE gleamed in the sunlight. As he approached his car, a faint, weary voice stopped him. "Please help me feed my children. Anything you can give." He turned. A few steps away sat a woman with 2 small children by her side. The twins, no older than 3, wore mismatched clothes, barefoot, their faces streaked with dirt. One clung to her wrapper. The other traced lines in the dust. Femi froze. It was Nana. Her head was bowed under a faded scarf. Her clothes were worn, slippers barely holding together. When she looked up, her once bright eyes were sunken. Her lips cracked. Still, there was no mistaking her. For a moment, silence hung between them. "You look so good, Femi," she whispered, her voice trembling. Femi slowly removed his sunglasses, his eyes filled with quiet astonishment. "And you? You look so broken, Nana. What happened?" She looked away, blinking fast. "I don't even know where to begin." "Try," Femi said firmly. Her voice cracked as she spoke. "After I left you, I married Kola, the man I told you about. He promised me the world. For a while, I had it all. But 2 years later, everything collapsed. He was arrested for internet fraud. The FCC seized everything, the cars, the house, the accounts. In 1 week, it was gone. He's still in prison. I was left with nothing. No job, no family to turn to. Just these twins. They're the only reason I wake up. I beg every day so we can eat. Sometimes we sleep hungry." The street noise faded around them. "Get up," Femi said quietly. She hesitated. "What?" "Get up, Nana, bring the kids." "You're coming with me." Her eyes widened. "After everything I did to you, you'd still help me?" "I don't repay evil with evil," he replied. "Let's go." She gathered the twins and followed him to the black Mercedes. Inside, she glanced at the leather seats and the faint scent of polish and cologne. "Is this your car?" she asked softly. "One of them," Femi answered, starting the engine. The drive was silent except for the hum of the air conditioner. Nana stared out the window, perhaps imagining the life he now lived. When they reached his gated estate, the security guard saluted as the tall gates swung open, revealing a grand white mansion with manicured lawns, glass balconies, and a shimmering pool. Luxury cars lined the driveway, their polished surfaces gleaming in the sun. Nana gasped softly, her knees weak as she stepped out, holding the twins by the hand. This is where you live?" she whispered. "Yes," Femi replied, walking ahead toward the front door. Inside, the air was cool, carrying a faint scent of vanilla. Polished marble floors reflected the warm glow of chandeliers. Servants moved quietly in the background. Femi turned to one of the maids. "Show Madame Nana to the visitor's room. Give her clean clothes, prepare a bath for her and the children, and tell the chef to make something filling." Half an hour later, Nana stepped out of the guest room. Her hair was washed and tied neatly, and she wore a fresh, simple dress. The twins, now in clean clothes, looked nothing like the dusty children from the roadside. Soon the chef placed steaming plates of jollof rice and fried chicken before them. Nana hesitated only a moment before eating. She started slowly, then faster, like someone who hadn't eaten properly in weeks. Across from her, Femi watched quietly. When the plates were empty, she set down her fork and looked at him. Her voice was low, almost breaking. Femi, I'm sorry for everything, for the way I treated you. I thought I was making the right choice, but I see now that I was wrong. Please forgive me. Femi leaned back in his chair. I forgave you long ago. In fact, your leaving drove me to work harder. It gave me the strength to succeed. Her eyes filled with tears. Do you think we could ever start over? His reply was calm but firm. No, Nana. I have someone now. A woman who stood by me when I had nothing. I cannot betray her. That night, Nana lay awake in the comfort of the guest bed, staring at the ceiling. She never imagined she would end up here, living in the house of the man she once rejected, not as his wife, but as a guest in need. And deep inside, regret pressed on her like a tide that would not let go. Morning sunlight poured through the tall glass windows, turning the white marble floors golden. Nana stirred awake, the soft sheets unfamiliar beneath her. For a moment she forgot where she was until her eyes landed on the high ceiling, the chandelier, and the wardrobe stocked with neatly folded clothes. Beside her, the twins slept peacefully for the first time in weeks. She reached out to touch them, her heart heavy with gratitude and regret. This could have been her life. This home, this security, all of it might have been hers had she not walked away from Femi. Later, after a breakfast tray of eggs, toast, and fresh orange juice, Nana stepped into the hallway. She walked slowly, her fingers brushing the smooth walls, her feet sinking into Persian rugs. Through an open doorway, she glimpsed Femi's office, lined with books, 2 glowing computer screens, and a sleek leather chair behind a grand mahogany desk. Further down, she entered the living room and froze. Floor-to-ceiling windows opened to a view of a sparkling pool lined with palm trees. A white Range Rover stood near a fountain, while gardeners tended the manicured lawn. It was paradise. Nana stood imagining herself as the lady of the house, hosting parties, wearing silk robes, sipping wine by the pool while the twins played. She pictured shopping freely without checking price tags. She even imagined Femi as he once was, smiling, holding her hand, dreaming about the future. She found him in the dining room, sipping coffee and reading from a tablet. He wore a light blue shirt with the sleeves rolled up, his wristwatch catching the light. Good morning, she said softly. He glanced up briefly. Morning. Did you sleep well? Yes. Thank you for everything. She hesitated, then sat across from him. Femi, I've been thinking. What happened between us? It was my fault. I was blind. I chose money over love, and I lost both. Femi set the tablet down, his face unreadable. We all make choices, Nana. And we live with them. Her voice shook. I know. But I see the man you've become, successful, kind. I wish I could be part of your life again. He leaned back, eyes fixed on her. Nana, when you left, I thought it was the end of me, but it became the making of me. I found strength I never knew I had. And in that time, I met someone. A woman who stood by me when I had nothing. I love her. I won't betray her. Nana's gaze fell to her lap. His rejection was calm, polite, but final. The rest of the day, she drifted through the house in a daze. She watched the chef prepare meals, the maids moving silently, the guards patrolling outside. She saw Femi handling calls, speaking confidently about investments she couldn't even understand. Everywhere she looked, she saw what she had thrown away. That evening, she sat by the guest room window, staring at the pool glowing under the sunset. The twins laughed softly behind her. This could have been our life, she thought. I could have been his wife. My children could have grown up here in safety. But she had made her choice. Now she was only a reminder of his past, not part of his future. The next morning, the smell of fresh bread woke her. For a brief moment, she imagined this was her life. Waking in Femi's mansion, the twins playing in the garden, mornings wrapped in comfort instead of dust. But reality struck when a maid entered. Madam Oga Femi says you should be ready in 1 hour. He will take you somewhere. Nana's stomach tightened. She sensed this wasn't a casual drive. An hour later, she stepped into the living room with the twins clinging to her dress. Femi stood by the door, dressed sharply, car keys in hand. We're going for a drive, he said simply. The ride was quiet. Lagos drifted past the tinted windows, vendors calling out prices, Okada riders weaving through traffic. billboards flashing estate ads. Nana stole glances at him. His face was calm, but his eyes held seriousness. 30 minutes later, the car stopped in front of a freshly painted two-story building in a quiet neighborhood. "This is where you'll stay from now on," Femi said. She blinked. "What do you mean?" He stepped out, opened her door, and led her upstairs to a neat two-bedroom apartment. Inside, cream-painted walls, tiled floors, and brand-new furniture gave the place a modest but fresh look. "The rent for 1 year is already paid," he explained. "The landlord knows you. You won't have to worry about where you and the twins will sleep." Nana's eyes filled with tears. "Femi, I don't know what to say. There's more." He handed her an envelope. With trembling hands, she opened it to find a stack of crisp dollar notes. "That's $10,000, he said. "Start a business. Feed your children. Build something for yourself. Don't waste it." She covered her mouth as tears streamed down her face. "Why, after everything I did to you, why are you doing this?" Femi looked at her steadily. "Because I don't repay evil with evil. You hurt me, yes, but your choices also pushed me to become who I am today. I don't hate you. In fact, I thank you. But we cannot go back. My heart belongs to someone else now." Nana collapsed onto the couch, sobbing. Memories rushed back, her cruel words mocking his ambition, walking away when he needed her most. Now here he was, wealthier than she ever imagined, offering her a new life she didn't deserve. He placed the keys on the table and turned to leave. "Take care of yourself. And take care of them," he said, glancing at the twins. "Femi," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I'm sorry." He paused at the door but didn't turn back. "Goodbye, Nana." The door closed gently behind him. She sat in silence, the twins' soft laughter in the background. She looked around the safe, clean apartment full of possibilities. But all she could see was Femi's mansion and the life she had lost. Regret wrapped around her like a cold blanket, one she knew would never leave. For the rest of her life, Nana would carry this truth. She had once held gold in her hands and traded it for dust. Moral of the story: true worth is not measured by wealth but by character, loyalty, and patience. Those who chase temporary riches often lose lasting blessings, while those who endure hardship with integrity eventually rise. Never despise humble beginnings and never exchange genuine love for fleeting comfort. Some mistakes can haunt you forever. We hope you enjoyed this story. Share your thoughts in the comments. What lesson did you take away? And here's some good news. Another powerful and inspiring story is coming soon. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you'll be the first to watch. If this story touched you, kindly give it a thumbs up and share it with your family and friends. Thank you for watching, and may God bless you richly.